And here we go. So, David, what are we doing here?
Hey, so we do call-in shows most weeks here, and for this week we wanted to do a theme about what's something you learned about yourself from a previous relationship. What's something you learned uh, about how you react to things, or what you like or don't like. Something that you feel as though you could have been taught before, like if you would have accepted that advice. Who knows? Um, just want to kind of run through the thought process, hence the name of the show. If you check us out on YouTube, and yeah, we'll be taking callers in, and if in between, probably spilling the tea of our love lives. No.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. This is something drastically different than we've done in the past. Usually, we're talking about more less personal topics, I guess you could say. Does that sum about right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. The way it will work is we'll invite you up on stage. You can let us know that either in the text chat or you can raise your hand. Raising your hand usually works a little bit better. And yeah, we'll bring you up on stage. We'll have a chat. Kind of how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. While we wait for someone to join us, David, what have you learned about yourself in a previous relationship?
What have I learned about myself? So I'd say something I've learned about myself is that I can have an easy tendency to kind of make the other person an extension of myself. Like I can kind of just make plans for me and them, but it's really just kind of plans for me. Or like I can get so swept up and almost comfortable that I'll miss actually looking for the need of the other person. That was fun. Just kind of assume that they're me.
I hear you. Okay. Have you been able to make a change because of that?
Yeah, over the years, and now I'm going on 8 years of marriage, so that's fun. It's been a process of unraveling that, and it's pretty neat. Like a lot of it's kind of a holdover from ADHD and habits developed, through that, and what I've had to first practice being present to actually see the things around me, because a lot of times I'm like I feel like I'm thinking 40 steps ahead, but I'm kind of thinking 40 steps ahead without looking at the board of the chessboard or whatever. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think I hear what you're putting down. So you're able to focus better on probably your partner and what she expects or needs rather than yourself.
Yeah, and not assuming as much. I think that's which honestly another thing I learned about myself from past relationships is that I need someone who just tells me like it is. Like I remember whenever I first met when I first started to date my wife, we were in the kitchen making some kind of food or something, and she told me, "Hey, what you just said really upset me," and that blew my mind, because all the people I dated in the past were like mind games. Like you say something and then they hold on to it, and you have to guess what happened, and half the time the guesses that you make bring up something else and compound the issue. And
shit, man, you're preaching to the choir here, man. I hear that so much. Like, yeah, you have to take a stab in the dark. Like, you don't know exactly what the problem is, so you have to take a guess, and that guess probably is wrong, and then that leads into something else that's makes both of you furious, and
Yeah.
it's just a snowball
And even
effect
if
from
it's a
there.
right
Yeah.
guess, yeah. Even if it's the right guess, it's like the wrong time. It's like it's the wrong thing that they're trying to sort through. And I've dated people who just didn't have the desire, I guess, to sort it out right then and there. They'd rather avoid the conflict, and by doing that, they started festering, and
Hmm.
that turned into a lot of cold shoulders and issues and fights. So yeah, I learned that I really value candor. I value like just sorting it out, put it out on the table. You can figure it out. I'd rather deal with an uncomfortable situation at which I don't know the answer to than not know the answer to something that's to 40 different things, or like stress out and wonder, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this? It's like, no, it's this, and maybe it's hard and we don't know how to solve it yet, but at least we know that that's what we're dealing with. What about you, Pierce? What's something you've learned about yourself from past relationships?
I've learned that going from living alone to living with another person, that I tend to put stuff off. And if I put stuff off like chores and stuff, that's fine when I live alone because I'm in control, right? I can deal with the mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can get to it when I want to, right? When I feel like I have time, when I feel motivated to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work as well. I didn't know this about me. I didn't know I was as lazy as I was. But living with another human being, right?
Yeah.
You that is. Am I the only one who hears this?
Why is
Is that you?
Nope.
Oh.
It's somebody's got mod powers on this Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's just having a good time.
Terrific.
Good work, John. Come on up and tell us your story.
I think he has to come up now.
Yeah.
If you interrupt the show, you gotta come up after that. Like,
it's volunteering.
There we go. He had his hand raised, and then he put it down.
Ooh. Yeah, for people on YouTube, we are on a Discord server with an audience there, and we you can't see it because we're just going to run the video right now. But anyways, so you going from living alone to another person, you realize how many things that weren't a priority to you, like things that you could live in that, like in a state that these things didn't have to be done.
Right. And yeah. Well, exactly. And there were things that could wait a lot longer because I was one person, right? Things aren't getting as messy, things aren't getting as chaotic. But then when you're in a house with three individuals in which one of them is under 3 years old, things get crazy real quick. And those things, those things, even though maybe to me they wouldn't be a priority, to other people in the house they are a priority. And it took me a while to one, realize that. Just figuring that part out took a while. But I got that part figured out. And now it's just a matter of making it more of a priority for me. And then we lived happily ever after.
So how did you go from it not being a priority to making a priority? Like, what'd you change? Did you just will it into existence? Did you take steps, make habits, do a chart?
It's more like having a realization of what the consequences will be if I don't make it a priority. Like, if I make it a priority, X will happen. X good thing will happen. if I don't make it a priority, X bad thing will happen. And I prefer the good thing over the bad thing.
Okay, so you thought about the consequences, and do you get positive feedback? Are you a person who needs positive feedback, or are you just someone who needs to avoid negative like interactions?
I like the positive
Does that make
feedback.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I
You're
fish
doing a
for
good
it.
job, Pierce. Like, you're doing a good job.
And
And your background looks good, Pierce. Like, I love that giant question mark.
that can get me in trouble though. Me fishing for the positive feedback, because sometimes that's what's the right word? I don't know what the right word is, but there's a word for it, and it's not something that's good. I don't know what the right word is. Like, it's not
Describe it in
viewed.
Spanish.
I don't know. Es moza furiosa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I totally
No,
understood that.
it's
I know
nothing like that. It's like, for fuck's sake, like, do I need to praise you about everything? More like that.
that. So that's one of your main fuel sources, huh?
Mean praise? Is that
Fuel
what you meant?
sources. Well, I don't know. Like, it sounds like if you find yourself potentially seeking that in every single thing, like for everything. I mean, maybe that's like just one of the ways that you like seek energy. Like, I mean, like one of your fuel sources.
Probably. I don't know that that's probably a bad thing, though, I would imagine.
It's terrible.
John says he's sorry for inviting the bot. That's quite all right. It was actually kind of funny.
Yeah. Energy fuel, like maybe that's because some people seek power, some people seek validation, some people seek safety, those kind of things.
Yeah, validation. That word kind of fits. That doesn't seem like a good thing, but it fits.
Why does it seem like not a good thing?
Good question. Why is it a bad thing? I guess I think I view it in a negative sense, and I view people who are constantly seeking validation as needy. So maybe that's why I view it in a negative way. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Maybe it's annoying. Maybe the behavior that it causes can be a hindrance to others.
And what's wrong with that?
I don't know. Hindering others. I don't want to be hindered. I don't think other people want to be hindered.
So do you think other people seek validation?
Oh, I'm sure.
Do you think they
sure
just
other
live
people-
without validation? Like, do other people live without validation, I guess, is what I'm saying? Like,
Probably.
why is your validation different than other people's?
I guess the people who don't seek validation, they might be egotistical. They might know they're all great and don't have to have it come from an external source.
I don't know. When I hear the word egotistical, I assume that means someone who needs validation. That's the whole reason that maybe that's not the right word that you're going for there, but
maybe not. I mean someone who's pompous. Maybe that's the right word.
I let's pretend that I was born yesterday and I don't know what pompous means.
Pompous means like they think their shit don't stink. Like
Mm.
they're just like flaunting. Like, hey, I just got this
Mm.
new watch. Bling
Yeah.
bling. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. That seems like more seeking validation than a person who's
Maybe.
worried about if they're overburdening somebody needing uh,
I think
to be
th-
noticed.
there's a distinction, I think, here between pompous and seeking validation. I think seeking validation might be like validating that you are worth it, like going from a negative number to like a neutral position. And then this pompous person might be seeking validation in a different way, like
Mhm.
from a neutral standpoint to like superior. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Does it though?
Now, no.
Okay. Like
Uh,
like when I say negative, like a negative number, did you? That's where I lost you, right?
I
You
think
don't know what
so.
kind of scale I was using. I was talking about
Yeah.
like maybe a self confidence scale, like negative meaning like poor self confidence, neutral meaning not positive, not negative, and like getting towards like positive, like higher positive numbers. That might be like someone who's like overly self confident.
Hmm. Hmm. That's going to sound contrarian at this point, but like I kind of think that everybody is needy in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, if they're not getting it from their spouse or something, they're getting it somewhere. Like, even the most self conscious person, they may not ask of it from their spouse or their girlfriend or their friends or whatever, but they're putting it somewhere. I mean,
Mm.
we we put ourselves out there somewhere to try to get that validation. I can't imagine somebody. I don't know. Maybe just somebody like imagine somebody just going to work, clocking in, clocking out, and going watching TV. But I mean, they get enough validation and that they're not fired. You know what I'm saying? They want to be validated enough to not be fired and to be left alone. I mean, that's something. But
Yeah. Hmm. I think that's
so
actually
maybe
something.
it's just all from one spot. Maybe that's what it is. It's just you need a validation on everything. That's does it all come from that one person? Maybe that's where the holdup is.
What's the holdup? Explain the holdup again.
So like I think one of we originally started talking about this as what's something that a potential way that you could be uh, described at your worst is like, oh, do you need validated on everything kind of thing? I think that was the kind of phrasing we
Yeah.
used, and so I think it's not the fact that you're seeking validation as much as, but that it all has to come from one person who has to
Hmm.
manage their own life too and other things in life, and then it's like I think that's the difference between somebody who is, just kind of self-confident versus someone who might be seen as like needy. It's like they have to have everything from one person. They don't find a way to diversify their needs of validation. They don't put it into some kind of hobby or work or uh, trading card game. I don't know.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. When one person is kind of like draining or I don't know the
Yeah,
right word is. Yeah, like overstepping, preventing that other person from doing what that they want when it's like so over the top.
yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, somebody in the chat I think described it as codependency. It's like
Yeah.
I think that's the neediness that sets off the alarms. I think that's the thing that gets people to, man, I can't take being with this person because you are like all the poetic language is like, oh, they're everything to me, like they're my entire world. And it's like once you start getting into the real world of that, it's um, that's tough. That's a rough situation to be in because one person can't provide all of that to another. Hey, look, Chase is here.
Hey, Jace.
Hello there. I wasn't able to raise my hand, but you lifted me to the stage. You're so strong.
You raise him up.
So,
Amen.
yeah, I don't mean to interrupt or nothing.
No, it's a
No.
call-in show. Come on in.
Okie dokie. Well, let me see if I can do this too. I might even be able to turn on my camera if you want. Camera.
Hey,
There we
there
go.
he is.
A lot of face in there for you. Okay.
That's what we like.
So yeah.
We do
Anyway,
like faces.
I guess yeah. If you wanted to talk about relationship stuff, something I think I learned from past relationships is that I need to be picky. I need to be very cautious with who I get involved with because uh don't want to go around breaking hearts or getting my heart broken if we can avoid it and stuff. And so I think it's good to like have a lot of things in common, um similar values, and similar. I mean, that's, I guess, what I'm trying to figure out is like where to draw the line as far as similarities and dissimilarities in a partner, because like I can't imagine being with somebody, like I don't think it would be healthy for me or a good fit for me to be with somebody who wasn't a vegan, who wasn't an atheist, who wasn't a leftist. You know what I mean? Like I could barely have friendships with people that don't fit into those categories, you know what I mean? Um a- and so I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that. I live with my parents who are on that total opposite side of like all three of those criteria. And we get along pretty well, but that's just because we don't talk about those things very often. Or if we do, it's very surface level, or we only talk about it for a little while and then go back to surface level stuff.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, all of these things I could. Oh, sorry. You want to go?
No, you
wanna
go
say?
for it. You're locked and loaded. Let's hear it.
I am. So all of these things, picky, being cautious. I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. Things in common, values. You listed a few examples that you would want them to be a vegan. You would want them to be atheist. Um, I wanna start real tiny here, and I want to test the waters here. Let's say you met this person, and you guys really hit it off, and then later in the progression of the relationship, as you say, you found out that she wasn't really like a theist, but wasn't really an atheist either. She was just like, you know what? I think there's a higher power. I don't know much about that. I don't know much about anything, but yeah, I think there's a higher power. Where do you go with that from that point?
But she doesn't have like a high level of confidence, or
Oh,
or
she's
is that what
confident.
you're implying?
She's
Oh, she's
confident.
confident. Yeah, I mean, at least like not talking about, like, because I have religious trauma, so
Mm-hmm.
at least she's not like a Christian, all hardcore fundamentalist, like, Bible believing, it sounds like in the hypothetical, you're not talking about that, but just maybe some deity, some kind of, or something. I mean, maybe the thing is like, um, it gets pretty clear what my values are because I wear them on my sleeve or on my shirt, or I talk about them I'm pretty upfront because they're all of those things are so important to me, um, that I'm always talking about them. And as an activist, trying to improve the world, trying to get the word out on those things. And so So she would probably, get it from the start or close to it. But I could imagine, like a day or something goes by and we got to talk about veganism and we got to talk about leftism, but we didn't get to touch upon the atheism thing. And
Yeah.
then but I'm like, oh, but I'm pretty interested in her. So yeah, I could imagine of the three things that I mentioned, leftism, veganism, or atheism, the atheism thing would be the one that I would budge the most on, if at all, like, you know what I mean, that I would budge at all on, but it would only be to that degree where it's not the same kind of God that hurt me, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm.
Hmm.
Did you try dating without being picky in the past?
I used to, just hook up left and right kind of thing, and that was cool, in its time. But I'm older now and looking to settle down and stuff like that.
Hmm. So how did you learn to be more picky? What
Well,
solidified
I
that?
had, I had a rule already when I was after I'd gone vegan. I had a rule that I would only date other vegans, and this girl who I was interested in, like I told her that, and she was like, "Oh, fine, I'll go vegan," and she was like, "Well, I'll do it till Thanksgiving, and then like so like 3 months, I'll do it for 3 months and see how I feel or how I like it, and then I'll you know rethink it at that point." And so I was like, okay, then that's good enough for me to date you, so now let's go have some fun, right? And but then we were together for like a year and a half, and she stayed vegan that whole time, except that she cheated on it a couple times. And um so and she wasn't like super activist or anything about it. It seemed like she didn't really internalize it, but it turns out it seems like she did it for me, not for the animals. But because like after we broke up, she was like a month later posting pictures of beef jerky with her new boyfriend, and I'm like,
That's a double whammy
so I'm
on
like,
you.
never again.
Yeah, I see. I see.
That sounds like a
Yeah, so I
slam on
kind of
you.
want
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want like a seasoned activist for human rights and animal rights, you know.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean that's a huge interest of yours. Like, I mean, that's what you spend your time doing. I
Yeah.
can imagine that you'd want somebody to at least be behind you on it, if not with you,
Yeah,
beside you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it's different than just a regular hobby or passion that somebody could have or a career, you know. Couples like could have different like, you know, career paths or hobbies, and that need not get in the way of a proper functioning relationship. But some things, like political views, are not necessary for every couple. I guess, there are some Republicans that are with Democrats and some religious people that are with non religious people. But when you're as fervent as passionate as I am about those issues, it's hard to make it work with, you know,
Mm.
somebody who's so different.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I mean, that's a very, very completely different framing of the world in a lot of ways. So I get
But
that.
but I have had some girlfriends who fit that description of being vegan, leftist, atheists, and it still didn't work out. So
Yeah, you got a
I'm
lot of
screwed no matter what.
criterias, man. Chase, you got your work ahead of you because, like, I mean, let alone trying to find somebody you're compatible with in general. You got like 3 real specific categories you have to have pretty strong alignment on, and that makes your odds even harder than the rest of us.
I think you're cutting up, David. You're cutting up.
Yeah, doesn't look good on my end either.
I might be
Yeah, they
frozen.
froze.
Okay, you're good now.
Oh, there you go. You caught up real fast. Have you ever
Hey,
seen it when it does that?
hey,
It like
everybody.
slows down and then catches back up.
Yeah, I just had to buffer my brain for a second.
Chase, so you can stop me at any moment if I'm incorrect about this, but
Okay.
it sounds like to me that there's like if you have a fear that if you were to date someone with these opposing ideas, that it would cause, I'm guessing here, cause friction or uneasiness.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the relationship and in my mental health and in probably
Mm.
their mental health because I might not be a good um I mean I might not be a good force in their life if I'm always angry at them or whatever. But it's also possible that if I were to be super cool about it, that they wouldn't be that they would be start coming into the idea, you know, whatever the idea may be. But again, I don't want to take that risk because it seemed like that happened before and it didn't really work out,
Mm.
because she went back on it.
What's
Okay, go ahead.
what's the worst case scenario if you were to date someone with not all these things in common? What's the worst that would happen? Worst case scenario.
We develop feelings and like then it becomes a relationship, but it's a complicated relationship and with lots of ups and downs and maybe that's too much drama and stress for me to be able to handle because I already have bipolar and PTSD, so I'm good. Like I don't need no extra drama. I'm trying to find something chill.
I hear ya. I wonder if you described. I wonder if everybody would resonate with that description of a relationship, like the ups and downs, and a little drama or a lot of drama. You know.
Some of it's to be expected, but I
Mhm.
just don't want overwhelming amounts of negativity or unnecessary friction. If I
Mm.
could have found somebody who I have
Friction.
all the yeah,
I'm
who I have
sorry.
all those positive, but if I found somebody else who I had all those same positive, um, who had those same positive attributes and we clicked really well, but also, like we were attracted and all that, but also we had the same values. I think that would make for a better relationship.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Got anything cooking there, David? I know you had something to say earlier.
So, if there was somebody who had your 3 main values there, they're good, they're rolling, they're good. Um, why do you think that they would, like, what other kind of things have you learned about yourself that would put them in a, I don't know. I'm blanking here. Why would
No, I
somebody
think I
want the date? That's a fun
wait.
question.
Say that again.
Why, if they've got the three values, the important values to you, and
Uh-huh.
they somehow figured out how to run into you, what do you think would be some of the things that would draw them to wanting to have a relationship with you?
Aw. That sounds like it's like asking me to compliment myself.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Here's
because
your
I'm
chance.
awesome. They should date me because I'm beautiful.
There you go. He's
I don't
humble.
know how to answer that, like,
Yeah.
without
Or-
showboating on myself.
Here, I'll ask it in a different way.
Okay.
A different
Let's
framing
hear it.
here. Not even necessarily you, just anyone. Any two people.
Mhm.
Why would people want to date each other?
Okay, for connection, um, to feel loved and to put loving onto somebody, to have somebody to lean on and be there for somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And could all those things be achieved, but perhaps some of those values not be in common? Maybe one here, maybe one there.
I don't I don't think so. I mean,
Hmm.
because like I'm trying to say it nice and all, but like Trump drives me mad, for example, like with lots of stress coming right at me because of that. And so, people that are, even if they're good intentioned from their perspective, but people who are supporting that dude and all the terrible things that come with it, that, like, for example, I was doing some activism and somebody I was doing activism for animals on the side of the street with a sign that said love animals, don't eat them. And somebody, while some people were flipping me off and stuff like that, some people were waving and giving the thumbs up. But this one lady pulled over and she said she was thanking me for doing the activism, and she said that she's been vegan for 48 years. And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing, really cool." But it turns out she's a Trump supporter. She's Republican, and she's like, "Yeah, all these liberals are moving into town." And I'm like, "I'm one of them," And so it's like, so we still, like, exchange numbers and stuff, and plan to meet up for a vegan dinner or some coffee or something. But I just wonder how well that's gonna go, because I fight hard for human rights,
Yeah.
and Trump is violating human rights, or seeks to do this a lot, and sows division and hatred and meh.
Let me ask you a question. Would you rather spend time with someone who was just kind of ignorant and like just not involved, not doesn't have like strong opinions one way or the other, or someone who maybe supports uh, Trump, but they have like relatively consistent, uh, potentially less of the douchey uh, views to your satisfaction? Like if, but they were well thought out. They weren't just like blindly following a charismatic leader. They had like principles and stuff.
Yeah, like, Republican principles cause me a great amount of stress.
Mm,
And so does the inaction of neutral people.
Oh wow, it's a
Because
double
it's like,
whammy.
damn, yeah, because it's like, damn, you're not like they're not the bad people, but they're so it's like they're the people that should be able to stand up,
Hmm.
should be able to take the right side of things from my perspective.
Can I reframe this question that David asked a little bit?
Yeah, keep reframing me, Pierce. I
I know,
love
I
it.
need to keep reframing you. So, like, let's say there's a Republican. Might not be like a huge Trump person, but nonetheless, they're a Republican. Potential mate for you. And let's say they're not a douchebag. They're actually the sweetest, kindest person you've ever met. Like Mary Poppins level of sweet, right? And then you got this liberal, vegan activist, atheist activist, whatever
But
else you
they're
said, I
rude.
forgot. But they're rude and they're a douchebag. they're a huge douchebag.
Right.
Which one do you pick?
Well, yeah, that's a tough hypothetical. I would say I'd abstain. I'd just I just wouldn't choose if that's an option. Do I get to not
Yeah.
choose and just wait
That's an option. Sure.
or be a virgin my whole life? No, but I think that I can't stand rude people either, but at least their politics would be good, so the actual impact, like they might be not nice to people in their immediate area, but they're not, killing or discriminating against others. Um, whereas the Republican, even if they're nice to me and they're nice to the waiter and everybody, but they support discriminatory politics that harm poor people and LGBTQ people, etc., women, you know, mm,
Hmm.
that's a deal breaker. I don't care how sweet she is to me and the waiter if she's supporting bigoted legislation.
What if she doesn't view it as bigoted? What if she is just interpreting it, assuming it's the
Mhm.
best for those situations? Like this is like
Then
actually helping the people as opposed to harming them.
yeah, then hopefully I or someone can talk some sense into her, because that ain't it. And and in the meantime, I need not get romantically involved with her until change is made.
I got a hypothetical, and it's a very silly hypothetical, but stick with me for this one. Stick with me. We're gonna take a time
Are you
machine.
gonna are you a time machine? Are you gonna put me on a date with Alan the alien?
We'll do that one next.
Okay.
So we're going back in a time machine, and then we're going back to 2008 because that was before I met my wife. And let's say I'm chilling at the mall.
Are you trying to go on a date
Yeah.
with Chase right now? Sorry.
I can see why you thought that I was going there. No, I was not going there. So, that just broke my train of thought. But I'm chilling.
You're welcome.
And let's just say a very beautiful woman approaches me, and let's just say she's dressed up as a nun. She's a nun. She's a beautiful nun, a sexy nun, just
Man,
gorgeous, right?
honestly, like, yes. Go on.
I think the me
Tell me
in
more.
2008. Well, I wouldn't have been down necessarily with the religious ideas, right? That wouldn't have been me. I wouldn't have connected with that. But I would have taken the nun out on a date. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have went for that. Like why not? So the question at the end of this hypothetical is why would I go for the date with the sexy nun but perhaps you wouldn't go for the date with the sexy nun.
Maybe in part, I don't know if you have religious trauma, and you don't have to disclose it one way or the other, but it pretty serious for me. At least I have a pretty bad case of it.
Okay.
And like being raised in a cult kind of stuff, and you know,
That makes sense. We've had
so
different experiences.
yeah. So we've had different experiences, and we have different goals, maybe.
So the 2008 me was just like, you know, I'm going for that nun, right?
Barking up the wrong tree.
You were
'Cause
just
also
going
nuns,
for.
they're dedicated to the cross, man. They can't have fun with nobody.
You know,
I think you were
I probably
focused on the whole and not the holy.
I was like, you know what? If you go see a movie with me, you know, maybe I can say grace before we eat the popcorn. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I don't want to give up my like, because it was my transformation was into atheism. I revere it. I hold it in high esteem, because it took a long time to get there, and to come out of the brainwashing, I feel, right? So like uh so I don't pray with people. I don't even pretend to pray with people. I'm like, I'm gonna go into the other room while you do this, and I'll come back in a minute when you're done, right?
Have you ever considered, or have you ever dated a former member of the cult, like someone else who's went through the similar brainwashing description you're going through?
I don't think so, actually. I can't remember dating anybody who was heavily religious. That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't think you were Mormon or Jehovah's Witness. Do you care to share?
Well,
I don't know. It's
actually,
it's not relevant, but I was just going to say,
No,
I mean, there's plenty of type of dating app sort of things, or pockets of people who are seeking out common griefs.
like ex-Christian singles or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like
Yeah,
singles.
That's a thing.
I'm sure it is.
Oh.
I don't know, actually. I was
if
lucky.
It's not a thing, I'm gonna go buy that domain real quick.
You ain't single. Oh, he just wants to profit off it, though. And he wants to hook people up.
You got to get the X-gen singles, and so then it almost looks like a dirty site. You can get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Would you take?
Cool.
Yeah. One more question, and then I want to hear what this I just love here person wanted to come up and say. Would you take someone who grew up in a similar thing, who knows a similar trauma from their religious experience, and had a moderate to indifferent political viewpoint and relatively agreeable on veganism?
No, I just gotta wait it out. I gotta
you gotta be picky. Right back to where we started. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just a question of like, what do I add to that pickiness already? I gotta add to that list of like, she can't be rude. I don't like it when they're rude,
Yeah, true.
And sense of humor is nice, but whatever.
Yeah, sort of laughs at stuff.
I ain't gonna be too picky.
I got a friend. His name's Alan, and he just landed in a spaceship. Would you date him?
Well, does he like to cuddle and watch movies, even horror movies?
Well, he doesn't know what horror movies are. You see, he just doesn't know
Okay.
anything about humans. We're not going here. This is dumb. Anyways,
Often on our call-in
Uh,
shows, we talk about these people who have no experiences to try to think the thought process through for people. Just for everybody in the audience,
yeah.
you probably watched this, but if not, it's a fun little thought experience we do.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Chase,
thanks for
appreciate
having me
you
on the show.
Yeah,
Cool.
dude.
See ya.
See ya. Balloons.
That was cool.
Yeah, how do I make myself do that?
Get some balloons. You just do it in real life.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes. I like it.
All right. E, is that how we pronounce your name?
Yeah, it's T.
Hey T.
Hey, how are you guys?
Dandy like candy.
I'm trying to place that accent. Is it British?
No.
Well, we'll guess soon.
Irish.
No.
Australian.
No.
I don't know. But I really want to know now.
Yeah, it's New Zealand.
Woo!
Oh, come on. That's close enough to Australia, right?
That is.
Right?
It's like me saying you've got a Canadian accent. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe people from Toronto talk like me. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, he's up north of
I'm up north.
Of the
I'm
States,
pretty close.
So he's pretty close. He could fit in. Me, it would be like saying I have a Canadian accent, and I reckon I don't have a Canadian accent.
I could just say you guys both sound Canadian.
What? David sounds Canadian?
I do declare.
I just say it because it's funny. Because everyone's like, "Oh, you sound Australian," and I'm like, "I'm not. It's a totally different country."
I'm not. As you sound really Australian. I'm sorry.
Totally different. Totally different. We've got like a whole water difference, like an ocean away. They're ocean away. I forgot why I came up, but there was a question that I wanted to answer in regards to the relationships.
Yeah.
And I forgot what it was. My apologies.
Well, just tell us something you've learned about yourself from a previous relationship.
So what I learned about myself from a previous relationship. I was in a relationship for about 7 years and we lived together. I did learn a lot because I was from when I was 24 years old right up to I was like 29. Actually, not even 29. No, I was 29. I'm 31 now. So it was only a year and a bit ago, 2 years ago. I had a lot of growing up to do in that relationship, not only just growing up with myself, also with my partner at the time, my ex at the time. We learned a lot more about boundaries. I learned patience, a lot more about being patient, a lot more about how to not invalidate what they're feeling and not be dismissive of what he's feeling. And stop putting my own feelings above his. And I think he also learned the same.
Now, are these things you think you could go back to when you were 24, 25, or 23 even, and tell these things to your younger self? Do you think you could have just heard these things and explained it to yourself and avoided all this?
No, because I think I needed the experience of it, the emotional experience of it to truly understand the effects of how, if I behaved in a certain way or if I did certain actions in a certain way, if I got told this, I would not be able to absorb it and I would not be able to understand where another person is coming from or how to learn how to love another person. Because that is not something you can get told. It's something you need to experience emotionally.
If you had to tell it to your former self, and I know you said that your former self probably wouldn't understand it, but how would you go about explaining it?
How would I explain that to myself in the way that myself
Trying.
understands?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is a
What would be
good
your best
question.
guess?
That's a really good question. I don't think I could have these conversations like this in my it's whether or not my younger self would even understand or comprehend what I'm saying. Because who I was as a person at that point in time, I was a very arrogant and very cocky person. Like, I was very arrogant. I was the type of person to be like, I know this, I'm right, I'm blah blah blah. And I would hear things that people said to me, but I don't actually understand. And I could do my best to try and get my younger self to understand, but that's not going to help my younger self grow, because my younger self needed to have that experience to go forward.
Do you think you stopped being arrogant, at 28 or 29?
Hell no, I'm still arrogant.
Oh, okay. Well, if
I'm
you're
gonna
still
just be real
arrogant, you
about it.
figured it out. So maybe arrogance isn't the roadblock here.
I think for learning at that time, yeah, it is. I need to have that experience first before I fully understand. If I don't have the experience, then all I'm speaking from is a place of what I see people doing or what I see people feeling, but not actually understanding it for myself. I need to experience it.
So this experience is like a 7-year commitment. Like you couldn't if you had a younger sibling or a friend or like some kid off the street you met and they're like, hey, got any advice? You don't think there's any way that they could figure it out beforehand?
I mean, they could figure it out. I don't know their level of it or their level of learning. So I can give people as much information as possible, and I can try get people to understand where I come from or my experience. But typically, I'm only speaking from my experience, because I believe a lot of relationships or how people navigate relationships is where they first learned how to love. And normally when you first learn what love is, or the concept of love or concept of relationships, you learn it from your parents. So I believe I can try give as much information out there so people can try and navigate the relationship. But ultimately, I don't know until I don't know unless I know where their foundations come from or what they learned, what love is.
Do you feel as though what you've learned, do you feel differently than what your parents taught you as love is?
Now I do, yes. When I was in my previous relationship, I was a very avoidant person. I avoided things, especially hard type of feelings. Now I'm starting to learn that you need to face problems or issues head on. And actually not shy away from those feelings, which is what I was doing at the time.
And you got burnt from shying away from the feelings, like it caused something to blow up, and that's what kind of taught you different, or?
Yes, absolutely. Me shying away from in my relationship, me shying away from those feelings did not navigate the issue that we were having. It did not get us past that issue, because I'm not willing to face it. And then I've got this person who has anxiety over it, who's overthinking the situation or problems that we have, and I'm just not engaging in it. So those are one of the many things where now, as I've learned, when I'm out of this relationship, I've learned that I've got to navigate through these issues first.
I imagine there's a little bit of personality factors. Like if you were to be with someone new and you try to face things head on and they're avoidant or they're reactive, it could obviously not be very compatible or good.
Absolutely, but it's up to me to recognize these patterns within myself. to recognize the behaviors that I'm displaying in this relationship, because I can't control this other person that I'm already seeing someone right now, and I've already picked up on these things where it was a similar situation to my last relationship, but I approached it a lot more differently this time, and the outcome has been a lot more effective.
Nice. And it sounds like you found someone who matches your desire to deal with it, or you probably wouldn't have been as effective.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
We're both on the same page.
Yeah, I think you were
Definitely.
muted or deafened earlier whenever I was first started talking about some of the things I've learned, and that was actually kind of a similar page there of I dated people who held things
Hello?
in and avoided the conflict until it became a giant conflict, and then it was a guessing game of what was actually the start.
Sorry, you cut out.
And I'm frozen on my end. I don't know if anybody else can
yeah.
hear me. Can anyone?
I can hear you, but I don't think they can.
frozen?
Yeah, I can hear you because I'm special. Because your audio is being
I
routed
froze,
different.
I think.
You did freeze. Try it again.
So earlier, I think you were deaf and you couldn't hear, but it was basically I was saying that I learned from previous relationships that the people I dated were avoidant, and they would let all these things build up over and over and over, and then they'd eventually have to let it out or cold shoulder until I basically begged for them to let it out, and then at that point we came and figure out what originally started it, or everything is feeling extra sensitive and hardened, so it's like a guessing game. And we don't actually fix the things that started the whole thing. And now I've learned to avoid that kind of thing. And I met my wife. She legit just told me something I said upset her. We dealt with it, and it was over. And I was like, holy moly, I need to marry this woman. So good times.
That's I mean, it's good to learn, and no one gets it right. And I think it's just when you constantly choose a person now as this perspective that I have, and willing to work through things. For me, it feels like I navigate issues a lot more easily. Well, not easily, but with a lot more thought and care and patience.
And I know you said that the reason that you figured a lot of this stuff out was through the experiences, but if you could go back and change anything, would you?
I would change, not so much in the relationship, but I would recommend...
Yeah, stock investments, obviously, yeah.
No, I was going to say I would recommend myself to learn to, like, okay, there's one book that I would really recommend myself to read, and it's, let me see, what is it called? Children of Emotionally Immature Parents.
Children of emotionally. Okay.
Yeah. I'd recommend myself to read that because I found valuable information about experiences that I had in childhood, which I was bringing into my relationship. I would ask myself to read this book a lot more earlier on.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And part of the reason I even thought to kind of do this topic for a show is for these kind of things that you're saying here. Like, this is the kind of thing that I wish I would have read earlier. The kind of idea I wish I would have started to try to implement earlier. These are the kind of things that helped me get over this hump that I was at. Honestly, that's kind of the thought process of one of the reasons I wanted to do this topic, because to me it's interesting, because I mean, like you said, a lot of life is learned through experience, but I mean, if we can find ways to dissect the kind of things we've learned from experience, maybe, just maybe, we can skip some of the hardship. Maybe. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, ideally, I think that would be good. And ideally, it's good to have that information out to people. I think relationships are so tricky, right? Like I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
it's very tricky. It's just it's very hard to navigate because there's no manual script on relationship. Like there's no manual script for raising a child. It's just something that we try navigate based on the experiences that we have had throughout our life. I hope I hope in future that a lot more people have built a lot stronger, or not stronger, but more healthier ways to communicate their own feelings and desires and disagreements within themselves, so that in their relationships they can try build a healthier connection. So we have more families, because that is the ultimate goal, is to have more families in societies and communities, so that we can have a thriving area, or your children can go to school where people have stable foundations. Like these are the pillars of society right there.
Yeah. Make the dominoes more likely to fall in a more joyful and cohesive society.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm wondering if you're comfortable with stating this. If not, totally cool. But we've been talking kind of broadly about all these things that potentially went wrong, and now it's like, okay, we'll face it head on. Sounds like you kind of know how to address these kinds of problems. I'm wondering if you could provide an example, maybe of one that's not too revealing or anything. Maybe just a tiny example.
Of disagreements, or
Yeah, just something that, like an example of something that you would have done in your past relationship one way, and then in your current relationship a different way.
I'm a very supposedly combative person. In my previous relationship, I was super combative, I reacted more than I actually thought about it, and I didn't process my feelings. So me and my ex used to argue a lot, and it could be about various topics. One time we argued about Trump, and I don't even care about any of the American politics. I don't know why we did that. But
That
it
is kind of weird.
escalated. Yeah, because my ex was super political. Like he was very invested in my country's politics, but he was also very invested in the US politics. And he used to push these discussions onto me, and I just, in my head, I'm like, I don't know why you're talking to me about this. So it escalated out where I'm just arguing with him for the sake of just arguing, but also reacting. Nowadays, I don't bring that into the relationship anymore, because I stop and think, and I'm just like, where is this coming from? And whether I'd want to discuss the topic more with a cooler head. So sometimes I need to just have a little break before I talk with him again about any topic that we have that we disagree with. Like abortion's one we disagree with. He's very pro-life and I'm very pro-choice. But we've come to an understanding of each other's beliefs. Just to respect each other.
That sounds similar to like the conversation we were having with Chase, except the kind of the opposite. You guys have a different I want to say value, but I don't know if that's right. You have a different stance, and you're making it work, it sounds like. This is your current relationship you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you guys are making it work, even though there's this difference.
Yeah. So we've discussed where we agree with and where we disagree with in regards to abortion. The only thing I think may happen is if we have children and our child, like, let's say this is 20 years and our child decides to have an abortion, we'd probably disagree there. But But that, to me,
Mm.
I've just said, when the issue arises, that's when we're going to address it. We're not going to pre-think or work out an issue that hasn't even come to fruition, if it does. So basically, I'm not going to carry today's problems or potential problems, tomorrow's problems or potential problems into today. I'll deal with the issue if it arises.
Is there any issue that is? You said that would be the only potential issue with that. There's like not necessarily an issue with it right now. How are you guys ensuring that it's not an issue right now? Is it just like, do you guys talk about it? Do you not talk about it?
Oh no, abortion would not be an issue right now with us, because if it happens, it happens. To me, like,
Oh.
I would not have an abortion.
I didn't actually mean it like that. I'm so sorry. I meant like just as a topic, as a belief. I didn't mean as a actual thing that could happen.
Oh, okay. So as a topic, oh no, I just know he's pro-life. I'm gonna respect that about him. Like, he's upfront with saying he's pro-life. He knows I'm pro-choice, and we leave it at that. That's not a topic that we will bring up. But if we do, it's more of a learning thing more than anything else. I try not to debate him, because it gets heated and passionate in a debate, and it's not something I'd want in a relationship per se. I only when there is actual like issues where we need to confront it, I will push back, but I don't want to debate about topics with them.
Mango says, would you rather be right or would you rather be married?
I rather understand where he's coming from, but yeah. But yeah, that's essentially where I'm coming from.
It's cool. I like that that you guys have been able to make that work, even though you have different ideas, thoughts. It's awesome.
Do you guys
I'll
have
just- Mhm.
relatively similar beliefs about the details of that topic, that just you kind of like switch at one point, or do y'all have like kind of different frameworks entirely?
We have different frameworks entirely.
That doesn't spill over to other issues?
There are other things that we disagree with, but we just talk those issues out and see where each other comes from, because I think if we come to a place of understanding, even if we disagree with the core of it, and we understand where each other's coming from, just putting that respect providing that respect to each other means that we can still navigate within our relationship. We just know that these are things that may come up if they do. Like, just to put it blank, politically, we're different. Like, he's more on the conservative, centrist to conservative, and I'm more of like left. If this was a different person that you weren't dating, and we don't have to go into this if you don't want to, but if this was a different person that you weren't dating and they had these same beliefs, would you feel like any kind of way of them being a good or bad person? Or no, because I can have a conversation with almost anyone. Like, I'm pretty flexible about being open to talking with anyone. So I wouldn't necessarily say a person is immediately bad because they believe this is their worldview, that's where they're coming from. To me, it's always about the actions of a person more so than the words that they talk about. It's words, you can say anything you want under the sun, but what are your actions towards people? That's what matters to me.
and they're showing you lots of positive actions towards people and yourself, obviously. Yeah.
So, like, if a person has a different political belief than me, so be it. That's absolutely fine. But what are they doing? What are the actions that they're doing in the community, in their family? How are they portraying or bringing themselves to their community? And that's what matters to me the most. I don't care about their political belief. I care about who they are and how they portray themselves in the community, what actions they're doing, what type of things that they're doing. Because words don't mean a lot to me. It's the actions that, words do mean a lot when you follow it with actions, but it's the actions that ultimately state a lot more about a person.
I think I'm following you, but I think I might use different words to convey the same message. I want to make sure I actually understand. I think
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
phrase it as, if I was restating what you were saying, I would say, like, I don't care about what someone necessarily believes, but I care about what their intention is, and if they're intending to do something that is good for people, or if they're intending to do something that is bad for people, and that's how I will evaluate them as a person.
Yep. It's very much the actions speak louder than words saying. The only thing is, what's good or bad for people depends on the people that they're serving. So the people that they're serving, let's say the community, could definitely align with what their beliefs are or values are, or anything like that. So yeah, good and bad can be quite subjective depending on the community in that regard, for me. I hope that makes sense.
I think so. I think some people might argue, and I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you, but I do believe people would argue that their words and their support is kind of an action potentially, or like a preliminary action or something to that sets in course the actions that they might take. But again, some of these situations are very complex, and a lot of these situations aren't directly applicable to everyday life, and they're more so specific situations, and often something that the people who have opinions on it might not even directly interact with. So I get that too.
Mm.
And T is currently fixing the Discord to try to allow people to raise their hand because there was some glitches in the system.
There we go. I'm happy to drop down now. That was a really nice conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for chatting with us, T.
Yeah, it was cool. Thank you. I think Mango wanted to come up, perhaps. I don't know if that's what that meant.
Their hand is raised.
Might be. I invited them.
That's there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if she wanted to come up. Might be reading between the lines.
Yeah. For those of you who have joined since we started here, we're doing a call-in show. We're discussing kind of a new topic than we usually do, at which we're asking people what they've learned about themselves from a previous relationship, trying to just talk about what kind of things you might do different, what kind of things you wish you would have known, what kind of things you learned that you didn't know about yourself, but it came out from being in a relationship with somebody. And we're just kind of digging through the thought process of how those things came about, what it might look like for someone else if they were experiencing something similar. And it's just a little more interesting than arguing for a week. Like, we're going to spend this week being a little less argumentative.
I like how it's gone so far. We've had some really interesting conversations. And I was nervous. I was nervous at the beginning. I was like, I don't know if I know how to do this. And it turns out maybe I do. I mean, you've been kind of taking the lead here and there, but yeah, it's gone good.
Awesome. I appreciate it. It's because I got confidence from my silly goose picture it's like a very fancy art drawing of a goose that I found at a store, and I love it.
It reminds me of remember the review show with Daniel Ray? Were you a part of that? Yeah.
The silly goose is a good time. So go check out one of our previous videos at which we reviewed a video of a discussion we had with a major critic of the type of discussion we were having. It was a good time. Check out our YouTube channels, Two-Day David, Pierce Watkins. Definitely subscribe to Pierce Watkins. You can subscribe to me if you want. Pierce does all the work on this channel. I mean, he helped set up everything. He does the thumbnails, which I love the thumbnail this week. You guys got to check it out if you can't see it. Yeah. Somebody posted in the link, the chat for me so I don't make keyboard noises for everybody.
Yeah, I'll yell at you for that. You can find it by clicking on our I think you have it in your profile, right, David?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, in the Discord profile. It's in there. You can find it in there. Well, shall we give everybody about another couple of minutes, and if nobody wants to come up, should we wrap up, do an after show maybe?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Keep talking a little bit, and I get a invite on deck, and I'd have to do a few things here, so to get that ready. So keep talking.
Yeah. I think it was a period of time, like in my life, at which I just kind of assumed that the people that I dated and what were mad at were just awful people. And some of them had a lot of awful qualities, but some of the things I've learned through 7 years of marriage, that some of those problems are kind of directly related to the things I was doing. And I still wouldn't date those people again at this point. But as I was saying before, like, I mean, my ability to hyper focus on 8 million different things, and my kind of constant in the cloud mindset, like where I'm kind of always thinking about something else besides my physical present reality in front of me. Like I walk down the stairs and walk past, clothing at the bottom of the stairs. I can see, plates or something left over from lunch at the table. I could walk past that, and I might see some dust or something like that. But I'm on YouTube, or I'm on Discord, and I'm trying to soak in all this knowledge and this experience in life. And I walk right past it, where like my wife now, I mean, is much more present, and she'll walk down the stairs like, oh, there's extra clothes there. And it's like somebody needs to pick that up. And there, for the longest time, for my number of first years of my marriage, like it was either her or her having to remind me, or her having to kind of be the mental load. Like, in fact, it's still the biggest thing that I'm working on now, is just kind of not just cruising through life and letting her kind of keep track. I've always kind of been a more conceptual guy than a by the books thing, and it worked really well when I was single and when I didn't have any responsibility. But now I'm married and I have 2 kids, and it is it's amazing the kind of things that, like, I don't think about, like how many things I don't consider. And it's neat. It's neat because I don't think of my wife as needy at all. Like, and I don't think of her. She doesn't nag or anything like that. but like she just it helped me kind of realize like that, you know, my previous relationships and whenever I was in my current one now, like, I mean, I've kind of taken for granted a lot of assuming kind of things would happen, or I didn't care enough to worry about it. And so that's developed something like clutter blindness. That's what I call it. I'm clutter blind.
I gotta get diagnosed with that, so I have an excuse. No,
Yeah, there's not a
that's
really
terrible
good
advice.
medication for it. Like I haven't found a great medication for it. The best thing I found for it really is I found that if I don't have a place for a thing, like if it doesn't have a place it goes, it ends up on a flat surface somewhere. And flat surfaces can be huge, like a table, or they can be small, like a ledge. And if I don't have a place for it, it ends up on some surface. So that's why countertops are so hard to cclean for me, because I'll start to clean them, and I'll like clean, like I'll get the area where I know where things go spotless, but there's just like this at the edge, like in the very back of it, you know, it's like, oh, here's these random spices that don't fit in this drawer, and here's this cord that I need to use for the vacuum. Yeah, I don't know.
I hear you.
It's been a process of kind of trying to retrain my brain.
Yeah, you got to be able to see those things first, and then once you see them, you can take the action. You got to recognize them. Yeah, that's half the battle.
Kind of get, yeah. I can trick my brain. Like if I tell myself, like if I make somebody come over, my brain thinks about what other people are going to see. And then it's like, oh yeah, energy. Here you go. Let's go. Procrastination time has worked. Now it's time to cram, which was always what I was really good at.
Like an outsider test in a way.
Yeah, it is. It is. I have to do that. And I remember before my second child was born, my wife gave me a whole day just to be by myself. And I literally just sat in a rocking chair and smoked a bunch of weed and listened to like metaphysics, philosophy stuff. And I remember my brain changed in that moment, and it went back to normal chaotic clutter. But I like saw my whole house as my child might see it, like all these things stacking up, all these things that this part on the floor that's just building up grime or something around the dishwasher, or, you know, like, but it's crazy. Like, it's exhausting trying to think about this. Like, you people who see the world like it is all the time, how do you do it? How do you like spend so much energy seeing everything? Like, what do you like? Can you have that and also try to figure out the right arrangement of words and sounds to fix the entire world at the same time? Can you do both?
I don't know. I think I'm in the same
I kind of
boat
went
as
off on
you.
a
I
tangent
don't see it. That was great. Well, do you want to answer Mango's question, or do you want to go to the after show and answer it there?
No. What have you guys got better at working through conflict?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been a person who's tried to be a fixer for the majority of my life. Like I've always been kind of quick to figure out things, and sometimes I figure out something that makes sense if you follow this path, but I miss the fact that the path changed somewhere down the line. And so I've learned to try to listen more and try to actually like pause before I start offering solutions, because there's a time when solutions are useful, and then there's a time when it's just like people just want to actually know that you hear the actual thing that's going on. So as far as relationship conflict goes, I mean, that's been one of the bigger things that I've had to learn, is to just shut up at times, because I'm very quick to answer.
Yeah. With me, I think I need to. I learned how to listen better. I'm able to hear like what's being said a lot better, and also there's this weird awkward stage where I was able to hear it, and then wouldn't necessarily take the appropriate action. So I would be saying the appropriate things, but without the action, it made the words sound like I was just saying what they wanted to hear, right? And yeah, I've learned that not to do that, and sometimes saying less is sometimes better than saying more, and taking action is probably even better on top of that. But usually you probably need to combine those.
Yeah. First, you kind of strike me as the type who might want to talk about a thing, and then you kind of figure it out, but then you keep talking about it.
Yeah, probably.
What do you think? Why do you think somebody might be content at that point, at that one point, but you want to keep going? What do you think's there?
I like to finalize things. I like to get things complete. I want to get all of that, wrap it up in its nice little container. I like to compartmentalize shit. I like to label it. I like to complete it, stick it in the box, and we can put it somewhere else.
Yeah, you
But
don't
a lot
want
of times
surprises down the road.
Yeah, and you don't need. I don't need to necessarily do that all the time. And I can take a box. I can put all that in there, and then it can be a present later on. Yeah, it's not like everything needs to be unpacked in the present all the time. Things can be unpacked later. So.
Yeah. How are you at tabling discussions? Can you do it?
No, can't. I can't, but
Sorry to
I
laugh
should
at
be
you.
able to. No, we don't. I don't table shit. Like we're gonna figure this out now.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I should table it. Not everything gets done right away.
Can you think of a way that you could table a discussion that would be satisfactory to you? Like best case scenario.
Oh. I could convince myself of benefits for tabling it. I don't know if I would ever actually be content with tabling something that was important to me. Maybe if it was something that wasn't important to me.
So maybe your partner could have a code word to say, like, is this something that is important? Maybe not say it like that, because that probably would. Everything you say is important, Pierce, and I cherish every single word you say.
Like on a list of priorities, is this one in the top 5? Like kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm asking you, like, yeah, something like that. Is there a phrase that you think you could hear that would not set off the flags and not set off the alarms and the frustration?
I think if it was phrased like, I don't know. That's a hard question. Because I know how I would want to say it, but I don't know if I would want to hear that. And that sounds terrible. Like I would phrase it like, in the large scheme of things, is this something that you want to make one of the most important priorities? That's how I would.
That's a question you would say to somebody if you're doing a generic conversation with them. Like, what could you hear someone close to you say that still validates that it's important to you, but it's not something that needs to be done? Like maybe a commitment to the future or something. Maybe something like, let's talk about this in 12 hours.
I need to have a schedule. I need to know exactly down to the minute when we're gonna pick this back up. That's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if somebody can't promise a schedule, but the conversation probably isn't the best time, can you do a loose schedule? Like you said, an exact time. Is that a priority?
Yes. The exact time. Yeah. No, I'd really like an exact time, because I think there's so many times where we've said, and this is with anybody, not just one relationship. This is whatever. It's like, well, we'll talk about that at this time. We'll do that another time. And then it never fucking happens. It never happens.
And you're left simmering on it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to simmer. It's either you get in the kitchen and you take that heat, or you get the hell out of the kitchen.
Cooking on medium, cooking on high, let it boil. Okay. So you don't want to simmer on this. You're going to think about it. And does your partner compartmentalize easier than you? Are they able to just kind of go on about their day?
And
focus on whatever's at home. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just like this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. It's all over the place. It's crazy.
Yeah, they
it's
just
like
switch.
We're talking about this, and then we're talking about that, and then we don't know what, and I don't know what they're talking about. It gets crazy. It gets crazy, man.
Do y'all have scheduled, like? I mean, this is definitely a married conversation, because the time becomes much more scarce whenever you're married and have youngins. But do y'all have like a time set aside where y'all can talk about important things in life?
No, but I know when that's kind of, but no. Like in the morning, before the child wakes up, if there's a time
they don't
before
wake
the
up
child,
early.
yeah, there's like that time, and then there's the time like if the child goes to sleep early, then there's that time.
Yeah,
and those, it's like kind of an unconscious agreement that is that time.
That's the discussion time. And you don't want to bring up the thing that you're simmering on, not at the discussion time or just randomly, because that's going to be like, oh, he just can't get over it, or he can't deal with it, or he can't let it go, or is he petty? I don't know. Like I'm putting words in your mouth. I don't know if I should do that, but
no, it's like, I'm gonna forget.
You're gonna forget.
I'm gonna forget it, and then
that's great.
It's not great because it's probably important. And now it's like it gets lost, and then it's gonna come back like in 3 days to 3 weeks, and it's gonna be a problem. And then it's gonna be like, well, don't you remember? And I'm gonna be like, no, because we didn't talk about it. Yeah, we did. Well, sort of, but we didn't complete it. Got loose ends here.
You strike me as a guy who uses an Android phone. Yeah. Does your wife use an Android phone as well?
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all do like a shared note? Can y'all just
probably
have a shared note that you write down to say table discussions or talk about eventually, and then you just write that down, and then you could say like, hey, you want to hit the list, see if there's anything that we never figured out?
Good idea.
Yeah,
I might just take that suggestion.
Check it out, Mrs. Pierce Watkins. I hope you're watching this and fawning over this man who obviously loves you very much.
This is probably in the next room. Were you talking about me?
Yes, we were, in detail. Well, I've had a lot of fun talking about this kind of stuff. This is neat.
Yeah.
I think we should do this kind of show again sometime soon. Like I like examining belief claims. I like examining, political views and stuff like that, like we've done in the past. But this feels a lot like human experience. This feels a lot like some of the things that drive beliefs and political things. Is I like these kind of topics, and I'm hoping that we can have these kind of chats with more people. Give one more chance to the audience here. Put your hand up if you want to come in, say your piece, share your experience, ask a question of us, anything of that nature, or if you just want to advertise your mattress company that you run in Milwaukee, go for it, and you can sponsor us
For $5.99.
Yes, I'll take it. That'd be the most money we've ever made with this, because right now we're at 0. But it is a good time. I get the dopamine, it hits the urge. So,
All right.
Pierce, you wanna end us out here?
Yeah, let's end it out. David, you're dismissed.
You watch our last video. We were watching the one of these First Amendment. Is it First Amendment audit?
First Amendment audit, yeah.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
went crazy at each other, and they kept on saying, "You're dismissed." No, you're dismissed. And it was just crazy. So if you want to check out something kind of wild, yeah, check that out.
Yeah. We should reach out to that guy and have a conversation.
It would be interesting. We should.
All right.
Maybe I will. All right. Well,
Do it.
see you guys later.
See